Hi everyone, once again, welcome. My name is Eileen, and together with me, I have my teammate Min, and we are your facilitators this afternoon for this webinar on AI for job search, what to use and what to avoid. And for those of you who are new to us, I want to do a short introduction to us. And those of you who are not new to us, please bear with us. You know we do this at the start of every one of our webinars. IBF Careers Connect is a career center sitting in Singapore's banking and finance sector. And these are the three main areas in which we support our job seekers. We help you via one-on-one coaching. And during coaching with our career advisors, and Min and myself are part of the team of career coaches here. Your coach will work with you through every part of your job search. And Min is going to talk about what exactly you do during a job search later. And the second area in which we support you is in the area of industry insights. As a career center sitting in the banking and finance sector, we are connected to employers, recruiters, and subject matter experts within the industry. So we do, from time to time, run events where you get to talk to industry veterans face to face. And at the same time, we also, for our coaches, we also offer a fortnightly Jobs Digest newsletter in which we spotlight for you what are some of the current jobs that are on the market right now. So that's area number two. And lastly, as a team, we also organize quite a few events throughout the course of the year for job seekers, people like ourselves, to meet with employers and recruiters in person. So those of you who are not already working with us, with a coach, we invite you to sign up to work with our coaches. And those of you who are already with us and having a coach, we do have a next event that's happening on 12th of May. There's a Fin Connect. And if you are interested, let us know in the comments. We will post the link to the event within the chat group itself. And before we start proper, there's a few things I want to highlight to everyone. Please make use of the Q&A chat. And if you've been with us for quite some time, you will know that we always run our webinars in a very interactive style. So we invite everyone to ask as many questions as you can, and we will always try our best to answer as many of them as we can during the session. Okay, Min, do you have anything to add?
I think there's a question in the chat. Jayan is asking whether our deck will be shared later on. I think the answer will be no, but we welcome you to take snapshots of the slides whenever you think it's something that you like to capture. All right.
Oh, thank you for that. And also feel free, this AI is a topic that is very exciting for me personally. So I hope to really interact with everyone. So please feel free to ask as many questions as you can. So today, what we are going to cover would be these four areas. Number one, guiding principles, governing using AI in job search, and three other steps, job applications, resumes, and interviews. And we'll talk about them as we go along. So guiding principles. And by the way, for the audience, feel free to take screenshots if you need. Yeah. So guiding principle number one, yes, in today's age, AI can do a lot of stuff. AI can help you do a lot of stuff that you would otherwise have to do yourself. But the job search funnel still applies. And what this means is that classical principles of job search still apply. And for that, I'm going to invite Min to speak about what we mean by this job search funnel. So that's principle number one. And number two, don't outsource decision-making to AI or your friends. Those of you who are familiar with how large language models or LLMs work, right, you will realize that LLMs are designed to, by default, agree with you. And they are designed to give you the most probable answer that anybody would give. So therefore, when you outsource decision making to an AI, for example, should I apply for this job or not? If you type something like this in the prompt, chances are the AI will tell you, yes, you should, unless you give it some guardrails. So I hope everyone got that. And what do we mean by don't outsource decision making to friends? Okay, it's the same thing. So in our experience working with our coaches, we do have many people who cannot always decide what they should do. So for example, should I use format A for my resume or format B? So in the Singaporean context, most of our job seekers who are stuck in that situation, they will end up asking 10, 20, or 50 friends, hoping that based on the highest percentage of friends who say use format A versus the people who say format B, then they will then make that decision. So this is what I mean by don't outsource that decision making, because when you do that to either your friends or when you do that using AI, you will end up making a decision that, number one, is not scientific, is not may not always be the right choice, and number two, carry this habit too far, and you can come across lacking a lot of conviction during your interviews. Okay, now I'm going to ask, okay, before I move on to the next principle, I'm going to ask our audience one question, the first question. So I'm going to be, Min and I are going to be asking you a lot of questions during this session, right? So hands up, how many of you have used or are using AI in your job search? Thank you, Juliana. And if you are already using AI in your job search, can you type in the Q&A box how you are using AI? Share with us how you're using it in your job search. Thank you, Jayant.
Yeah, I think it'll be very, very interesting to hear from our audience how you're using AI for interview preparation. Coming from Denise, thank you.
Wait, interview preparation. Do we have only one response? Yes, okay.
Yeah. I think Juliana says job match in the chat box.
Okay, thank you for that, Juliana. We can't see other participants' response. I'm quite sure. Can I ask the audience to put in your responses in the Q&A box instead of the webinar chat?
Yeah. Anonymous says for CV better matching with JD.
Thank you. Can everyone indicate in the Q&A chat as well? Just put in anything to show us that you are able to locate where the the Q&A is. Okay, for our audience, are there only these two or three responses? Okay, we've got more people. Michael, thank you. Rewriting the CV better based on JD. Great. Ram Kumar, oh, yes, thank you for that. Juliana, thank you. Your response is somewhat similar to Anonymous, better CV matching. Okay, thank you for your response. I'm ready to talk about the last guiding principle, which is always use AI to improve and not write. Okay, what I mean by this is when you use AI to write your resume, it is never a good practice to ask AI to write a resume from scratch based on just the job description. I've got something from Ram Kumar asking AI to provide a list of questions and model answers for the job scope. Okay, thank you for that, Ram. Later we will talk about that. And so for our audience, I need everyone to understand this here. The green box is very important. It is always better to ask AI to improve what you have already written versus asking AI to write something from scratch. That means you don't give AI any materials and you just write it from scratch, because you will always end up sounding very, very ChatGPT. So I will expand on this more as we go through the funnel. So next up, I'm going to hand the time over to Min to share with us what this job search funnel is about. Min,
Okay,
over to
thanks,
you.
Elaine. Okay, now let's talk about the job search funnel. For those who may already be following us from our earlier sessions, you may well be very familiar with our job search funnel by now. But in case you're new to us today, we like to suggest that you think of the job search process like a funnel, right? And how is this so? The job search funnel basically describes the various stages a candidate must pass through in order to finally land a job, right? So you can see from the funnel, every job-seeking candidate starts from the top of the funnel, that is at the job application process. And your purpose, your objective is really to make sure that you move through the funnel at each stage so that you eventually progress and land on the job offer. That is your objective. Now, this is what we'd like to happen, but at times we may find that we are not perhaps progressing as much as we like to, i.e., you are getting stuck, yeah? And where you are stuck, at which stage you are stuck in the funnel, it's very, very important for us to know and consider, because which stage you are stuck at the funnel essentially determines the next course of action you must take in order to progress through the funnel again. So our purpose today is really to take you through each stage of this funnel and perhaps ask the question how AI is able to help us. Okay? Now, I'm just going to take a pause here, and before I progress further to discuss the first stage of the funnel, which is the job application, I'd like to pose a question to our audience again. Yeah. So to our audience, based on your job search experience so far, where do you think you are most likely to be stuck at in your job search process, according to the funnel? Would that be at the job application stage, at the resume stage, at the interview stage? Yeah, we'd love to know. So could you just put in your experience, share that with us in the Q&A box. If you're stuck at the resume stage of the job search process, please type resume. If it is the interview stage that you're not progressing through, please type interview. All right? Let's hear from you. Anyone?
For all the audience, remind everyone, put in your responses in the Q&A box, not the chat.
Okay.
Because nobody else can see the chat except us.
Yes. But we heard from Karine. Karine is feeling stuck at the resume stage, right? Karine, I must say your experience is quite common. And then we have Michael. He is stuck when CV reaches hiring manager. So I am interpreting this to mean that you're not even shortlisted for the interview. Would that be correct, Michael? Yeah? This is how I'm understanding you. And of course, from Anonymous, he or she is getting stuck at the job application stage. And Anonymous is saying that he is not getting shortlisted. Okay. Right. Okay, that seems to be pretty common among our audience today. Not even getting shortlisted. Yeah. Okay, so if you're not even getting shortlisted, where you may be stuck at is somewhere around the job application or resume stage, right? Yeah. And Denise is saying interview stage, no news after numerous interviews. Anonymous interview stage. And anonymous again, after applying, being called for interview. So I'm interpreting this to mean that you applied, but you're not shortlisted for interviews. Well, I must say your experience is not unique. It's quite common, but let's see how we can deal with each one of them today. Okay, but thanks a lot to our audience for your response, for sharing your job search experience with us. So let us now start with stage number one, which is the job application stage, right? Now, starting with job application, this is the stage where you are deciding which jobs you should be applying to. Now, needless to say, this is a very, very important step, and your choice of which job to apply to greatly determines your chances of being shortlisted for interview and whether you progress through the funnel further or not. All right. Now, the key question here to ask ourselves is which job to select, which job to apply to. That's a very, very important question. And I like to suggest that the job you choose to apply to should be a job that you are a good fit for. So the key criteria in choosing the job to apply to is a job that you are a good fit for. Now, this should be very, very, very logical, right? So if I'm interested in banking and finance, for example, and I'm particularly interested in corporate finance, but I do not have corporate finance experience, would I be applying for a corporate finance director job? Right? So it's quite logical that we should be applying for a job that we are a good fit for. But what actually do we mean by a good fit? What actually defines a good fit? Yeah. And in this case, we like to introduce to you what we term as the 70% rule. 70% rule, okay? So let me talk about this 70% rule. So essentially, this means that if you are a good fit for the job, then you should be meeting at least 70% of the hiring criteria according to the JD, right? Yeah. So in choosing which jobs to apply to, apply the 70% rule and apply to jobs for which you meet at least 70%, if not more, of the hiring criteria. Okay? So keep this in mind. 70% criteria. And here I'll take a pause and pass the question back to Eileen. Eileen, how can AI help us here in choosing the jobs that we should be applying to? Right? Okay, back to Eileen.
Thank you, Min. And before I talk about how AI can help us or not help us in doing a job application, can I have a show of hands? No, not a show of hands. Can you type in the Q&A box, what do you understand by the 70% rule? 70% of what?
So we said 70% of the hiring criteria according to the JD. Yeah. But we can deep dive into this question even more.
Yeah.
Eileen, the question is quite astute, right? 70% of the hiring criteria, but exactly what?
Okay, Ram, I'm going to invite you to put in your responses inside the Q&A instead of the chat. And for the benefit of everyone, Ram has kindly put in a response. Can modify a skill to make it to 70% based on the job I plan to apply for. So, question to our audience, since we don't have, 7 out of 10 requirements in the JD. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
70% matching the job requirement based on your experience and education. Thank you for that. And do you okay, this is even deeper. So sometimes, right, a JD has got 10 bullet points, and then 5 of the bullet points are about what we call hard skills. Min, do you have an example of hard skills?
Sure. So there is a difference in terms of skills. There are what we term as hard skills. So by hard skill, we'll be referring to technical skills, for example, right? We'll be referring to numbers of years of professional experience in that particular field. We'll be referring to core competencies, yeah, and even technical skills, the likes of Python, yeah, Excel VBA, C++. When it comes to data visualizations, perhaps Tableau, Power BI, these are some hard skills. And if we talk about financial analysis, yeah, financial modeling, the requirement for financial modeling skills like DCF skills, that is another example of a hard skills. Yeah. 3 years managerial experience, that is a hard skills. Yeah. So what is non-hard skills? We just talk about hard skills. Yeah. What about non-hard skills? What are examples of non-hard skills or soft skills? Yeah. Sometimes in the JD, when we look at the hiring criteria, there is mention of team worker. Yeah. Teamwork, willingness to work hard. Yeah. What do you think about that, Eileen? Yeah.
Okay, so that was the reason I asked the audience, right? The 70% of what? So when we talk about the 70% rule, we are referring to strictly the hard skills only, which means that if the only skills that you meet on the JD are things like detail-oriented, highly analytical, team player, or any skills that good communication skills. Now that is not what we classify as a hard skill. And if those are the only areas in which you meet that job description, then in our definition, this fails the 70% rule.
Yeah.
So I hope,
So
Min,
we're being very specific. We're being very specific here when we talk about the 70% criteria. The 70% criteria is specific to the hard skills. So in case you are still asking yourself, hey, how is it that I'm applying for these jobs? And I seem to be meeting quite a few of the requirements, and yet I'm not being shortlisted. This could be one reason. Yeah. Okay.
and also meeting a hard skill. I like what Juliana said. I think Juliana and Denise both said the same thing. 70% of the criteria, be it direct or additional requirements, and skill sets, experience, and requirements, right? This is very different. Having a skill and having experience that meets a criteria is quite different from looking at the JD and say, oh, risk management sounds very simple. I think I can do. That's not meeting a requirement. Yeah. So with that in mind, I hope everyone is clear, and I'm going to talk about how in the job application stage, what is to us, in our experience, a good use of AI and what is not. So I think I saw some very good responses just now. Some of you are using AI to assess your suitability for a job. I think that's great. And the second use, if you look at the second bullet with the tick on this slide, is using AI to do deep research when you actually apply for a job. And what we discourage people from doing is that now that AI is getting better and better by the day, there are ways for you to spam apply jobs, using auto apply bots. We don't think that is a good idea, but we want to hear from our audience. How many of you share with us how, if you have been using AI within it when you're applying? I mean, when you use AI to apply for jobs, have any of you tried the spam application method? Yes or no? Our analytical, meticulous. Thank you, Anonymous. Are analytical, meticulous, problem-solving, organizational, and planning skills considered hard skills? I'm going to give my response. I'll leave Min to share her perspective too. For me, these are skills that you show and you don't tell. You show. What do we mean by this? For example, if you say you are a data analyst and you analyze large data sets on a daily basis, you do data visualization. So that is what we call showing without needing to tell. So if you have in your heart experience that you are a data analyst, you've done with large data sets pertaining to this area on a daily basis, you create monthly Tableau dashboards, that is already proof that you are analytical. So in that sense, there's no need for you to say, put down the words analytical in your resume. That's one. And things like problem solving, organizational and planning skills, they are not considered hard skills in the sense that when you put them in your resume, it doesn't help you because this just makes you look like the job description itself. What we mean is it just makes it look like you lifted the entire job description and copied it and pasted it into your resume. Instead, organizational and planning skills are always demonstrated by real experience, real projects. For example, if you're an event organizer, organize 3 events every year with 5,000 attendees in large-scale convention venues, for example. So that's a very specific one about your organizational skill. Okay, that's my perspective. Going to invite Min to share her perspective.
I largely agree, Eileen. I think this meeting this criteria by themselves will not be sufficient in landing you an interview. Yeah. So if this is the only criteria you're meeting in the entire, JD, then you may not come across as a very, very strong profile. The meticulous planning, analytical bit, as Eileen said, will have to be substantiated, by your skills and by your competency and by your experience. And those are the hard skill sets the hiring manager will be looking out for. Yeah. Okay, I hope that explains. Yeah.
Thank you, Min.
Yeah.
And for on this slide, I also want to talk about career khaki. Can we have an indication in our audience? Have you heard of career khaki? Yes or no?
Okay, I think Anonymous said no. Denise, no.
Okay, this is interesting.
Okay, we have a yes from Juliana.
Okay.
Anonymous says no. Same with Celine. Yeah, no.
Yes. Thank you for that. So I have only showcased Career Khaki and LinkedIn. However, I am aware. I mean, we are constantly looking out for great AI tools to help in people's job search within Telegram. So I'm these two, and then I'm going to talk about things that you can find in Telegram. Okay, so the first one, Career Khaki, is a government portal backed by GovTech, and it sits on SingPass. So what this means that if you were to Google Career Khaki, you will find yourself in a website where you have to use your SingPass to authenticate yourself. And then you will find that it has all your SingPass information. And if you upload your resume, what Career Khaki can do for you is that it can provide you a very basic first level AI-powered career coaching. So for those of you who have not tried it, we invite you to try out Career Khaki. So that's source number one. And source number two is LinkedIn. Whether or not you are already on the LinkedIn premium plan, LinkedIn itself has got a pretty basic AI features where they will recommend jobs for you to apply. And I believe they will also tell you whether you are a good fit for that job. And for the jobs that they showcase to you every morning, you will also be able to see how many people have applied for that job. Now, as I understand it, if you do pay for LinkedIn Premium, they have even more features for you. So, for example, they might do what some of you shared that you did earlier, which is matching a job matching the level of your fit of your resume to that job description. So if you are interested in trying that out, there's no harm trying. And the only thing I want to add is that before you do that, always compare the price that you're paying LinkedIn to do this versus the subscription of any one of your favorite LLMs, whether you're using ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or Perplexity. And then to share with the audience within the different AI models, they each have different strengths. So if you are doing, for example, deep search, what I mean by this is in deciding what companies to apply for when you apply for a job, right? You want to do some background research on the company itself. It's useful to use something like Perplexity that focuses on research with verified links, verified data, and verified sources, rather than some other AI that is more creative. Okay, I hope everyone has heard what I said. And the third thing that is not on this slide, but if you're in Telegram itself, oh, how many of you actually use Telegram? Say yes or just type T if you're using Telegram. Okay, Ram uses that. Notebook LM, yes. Okay, for anonymous, do you want to share how you use Notebook LM in your job applications? Okay. Okay, a few of you do use Telegram. Now, in Telegram, in Telegram itself, I see that some very enterprising Singaporeans have actually created job application bots. So, which means that recently I actually was experimenting with one. So the bot actually helps you to search all the different career websites in Singapore for available jobs and pushes it to you via Telegram. So that's something for you to explore if that's what you're interested in. And for Notebook LM, how many of you are familiar with Notebook LM? Type yes or no. Yes, you are familiar. Yes, you have heard of Notebook LM. No, it's new to you. Okay, for the Telegram bot, right? For copyright purposes, I'm not going to publicize it here, but if you send me a LinkedIn message, I'll point you to the exact poster. I mean, somebody actually posted about this on LinkedIn recently. So send me a message via LinkedIn and then I'll share that post with you. Okay, no, Notebook LM, heard of but not familiar. How to message me? Okay, yeah. Okay, so I put my name in the chat. So if you will message me on LinkedIn, I'll just share with you the Telegram bot that serves the Singaporean audience. So I invite everyone to check that out and see if it is useful for you. So secondly, to answer was it anonymous? Anonymous's question about Notebook LM, I find it very useful as well in a job application context because you can create a notebook and put in all your job descriptions and all your resumes and ask it to create a nicely customized one for every time a new job description comes up. So personally, I find it very useful. So those of you who are new to it, I invite you to go and experiment with that. So Notebook LM will be a good use case because as long as it is within a notebook inside the Notebook LM itself, you can be sure that it's not hallucinating. So I think that's a good use case for it. Okay, so I'm ready to move on. Over to you, Min.
Okay, so that was about the jobs application process. Hopefully, everybody has gotten some tips as to how you can use your AI to make the job application process more efficient and more effective for you. But moving on from there, we want to next talk about resumes. Ili, can I trouble you to show the funnel slide again? Because we're going to go back to the funnel. Yeah, that's the funnel, the job search funnel. Right? The great job search funnel, if I may say. Okay, so moving on from job application, we have now successfully progressed on to resume. We're at the next stage now. Now, so assuming you have selected the right jobs, right, from earlier on, and we said that the right jobs means 70% criteria, and assuming you've gotten past that, now the next consideration is really your resume. Okay. Now, before we start talking about what constitute a good resume, what are the key attributes of a good resume, I'd like to pose the question to the audience again. What do you think is the purpose of your resume? Why do we have a resume, and what is the purpose of your resume? Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. What do you think is the purpose of your resume? Yeah. Some people like to describe their resume as a document. Would you say it's a document of my career life? Yeah. Trailer of the movie. Nice, nice, anonymous. And another anonymous. Showcase your achievements and skills, a hiring manager. Indeed, indeed. Yeah. A document selling yourself. I like the word selling. Yeah. I like the word selling that's coming from Michael. Make marketing document of myself from anonymous again. I love the word marketing. Yeah. Any more to come? Yeah. I think you guys are getting it really right, you're quite good with this. And indeed, when we talk about the purpose of the resume, um, truth be told, there is only one purpose when it comes to resume, one sole purpose. That is to get you shortlisted for the interview, right? Right? That is the whole purpose of us putting together our resume and sending it out for the job application is simply to get us shortlisted for the next stage, which is the interview. So the key success factor here is that we want to use our resume to communicate our relevance. And remember, like what Michael and Anonymous has mentioned, these days, when we talk about a resume, the resume is not simply a document that lists your past job or a document that simply lists your past achievements, right? It is no longer about that. Instead, we will have to view the resume today as a marketing tool. The keyword here is that it is a marketing tool that communicates why you are a good fit, why you are that 70% fit for that job, right? So what are some key attributes that constitutes a good piece of resume? Yeah. Firstly, a document should be a succinct piece of document. Yeah. Usually we recommend that a resume should not go beyond 2 pages. Yeah. 3 at most. It has got to be succinct. And why is that so? Because research tells us that on average, I believe you have heard about this before. Research tells us that on average, the hiring manager only spends 6 seconds in reviewing a resume. 6 seconds. What can he read, right? So the 10 pages resume is not going to be very effective. We recommend a 2-pager resume. And if you need a bit more, not beyond 3 page. Okay. So attributes of a good resume, firstly, it should be succinct. Secondly, it should speak of you. It should speak of who you are, right? So it should be authentic. And thirdly, it should explain and communicates exactly how your skills and your competencies relates to the job that they're hiring for, right? So it should be authentic, it should be succinct, it should be authentic, and it should be relevant. All right? So on that note, I'm going to pass the time back to Eileen again. How can AI help us with that? That's the question. Yeah.
Thank you, Min. I'm going to move on with that, move to the slide. Okay, I apologize for this
Okay.
skipping. Okay.
Sorry, I'm just going to, stop you there. I have an interesting comment from Anonymous. Oh
Yeah.
my God, to 6 seconds. I thought it was 30 seconds. No, it was no longer 30 seconds. It's 6 seconds. 6 seconds. Yeah, you can Google this. Thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah.
that. This is really very, very good information for every one of us to remember, because today we live in the TikTok age, right? And every TikTok is only 30 seconds to 1 minute, and that's people's maximum attention span. So the less what we call cognitive load that you put into the resume, the better it is for the reader. Okay, what do we mean by this? So let's go through the boxes on this slide one by one. So the first slide, the first box, generic and vague experience. Okay, highly motivated and results-oriented professional with a proven track record of driving operational efficiency. Okay, how many of you can tell from this statement alone what this person is actually doing? I mean, what's this person's role? Yes or no? Can you infer? Do we have no responses? Okay. BPR, okay. So the thing I want you all to remember, right, is that language like this does not help you because the way you see this sentence is almost always put at the top of a resume. And if you remember the 6-second rule, every second is for every one of the 6 seconds is for the whoever is reading, that human that is reading it, right, to make a decision whether or not to put this person into the interview pile or the reject pile. So the more friction you introduce to this person in understanding your resume, the worse it will be for you. Okay, what do I mean by friction, right? So for example, number one, the orange box already, from our perspective, the orange box is very vague. It doesn't do you any good to put this kind of paragraph in your resume, especially the first paragraph, because you are wasting precious space describing something that's very, very vague, and you are also providing cognitive overload to the reader. Okay, what do I mean by this? So we assume that because we come from an older era, that the more bombastic words you can use in your resume, the better it is for you. But in today's context, let me break this sentence down for you. Highly motivated. So the person has to think, okay, highly motivated, concept number one, yeah? Results oriented, okay, concept number two, okay? And then professional with a proven track record, concept number three. And driving operational efficiency, that's 4 concepts in one sentence. Now imagine the person has to process 4 different concepts in his or her brain before even actually reading the rest of your resume. So this is what we mean by cognitive overload. The clearer and the more succinct your resume is, the better it will be for you when a human actually reads it. Okay, can I have yes or no? Is everyone following? Okay, thank you, Denise. Okay, and the second box, the green box, in the middle, that says a tone that does not match your experience level. For example, dynamic leader with 2 years experience and expertise in synergizing cross-functional teams to deliver impactful solutions. Now, number one, this sentence is one of the things wrong is that this person only has 2 years experience. You can't really call yourself a leader with this kind of bombastic experience. So that's one. And second, this is also another example of a bullet point, a sentence that is full of cognitive overload for the reader. So here, just like what I did for you just now, dynamic leader, concept 1. 2 years experience, concept 2. Expertise in synergizing, okay, concept 3. Cross-functional teams, concept 4. Deliver impactful solutions, concept 5. So there are 5 concepts that the reader has to absorb and to understand before he or she even can make it past that line that you put in this resume. So, and why we are giving these examples. So if you look at the top 3 boxes, the orange, the green, and the blue box, these are all examples of what happens when you ask AI to write your resume for you. AI is going to give you the safest and most generic output. So if you're not careful, if you ask AI to write your resume without you putting too much thought into it, AI is going to come up with all these very buzzword sounding, very bombastic sounding words that don't actually mean anything and provide cognitive overload, which means increased friction to the reader actually trying to read through your resume, and it doesn't help you. So this is the pitfall that we're talking about, how not to use AI when you want to write your resume. So the blue box talks about direct buzzword stuffing. So for example, we have mentioned this just now, team player, strategic thinker, there's no contextual story. These are all very, very vague things. And the way to ask yourself whether your own resume is sounding very vague like this is to ask yourself, if I put, for example, the sentence in the orange box into the job description, would it work? So if that sentence can be put inside a job description that the company put out, right, then you can be sure that you have just you have just used a paragraph that doesn't really help you in when the human actually reads your resume. Okay, so I hope everyone is following. Yes, thank you, Anonymous, for that question. We are talking about reviewing, okay, review by a human on ATS shortlisted resumes or a junior TA manually reviewing 100 resumes a day. Okay, number one, these rules apply whether you are talking about the first case or the second case. What do we mean, right? In the first place, if ATS is the first screening, and ATS will not be sorting and filtering out resumes based on a buzzword like team player. Rather, ATS would work via the hard skills, Python, SQL, for example. So that's answering the first part of your question. And a junior TA manually reviewing 100 resumes a day, yes, all these sentences in the orange, the green, and the blue box is absolutely going to cause a lot of friction to that TA manually reviewing the 100 resumes. In the most extreme scenario, the TA only has time to do a visual scan of the keywords that match the JD. So if the only keywords that you're matching the JD is that you are motivated or you have synergizing experience, that doesn't really help you, because at the end of the day, the parts of the JD that the TA needs to look out for are almost always the hard skills. Min, feel free to cut in and share anything.
No, I do agree with you. I think the keywords are important. But what we mean by keywords are really the keywords that relates to the hard skills, the hard requirements of the jobs. So again, the example would be as Eileen has quoted, if the job is looking for somebody, or if the JD is discussing as a criteria somebody with 10 years of experience, including 3 years of supervisory experience, this will be what they'll be looking for in your resume. Yeah. So to match it up, it will do you well to highlight the fact that you have 10 years experience or close to 10 years experience. Yeah. Yeah. And if the JD is asking for Python, then that is a keyword that you want surface in your resume as well. Because whether it's an ATS or it's a hiring manager or the junior TA, you can be sure that that is the one thing they'll be looking out for.
Thank you, Min. I like that. And let's now move on to the pink box. I hope, Anonymous, I hope that was useful. And if you have more questions, feel free to keep asking. Happy to take any more questions. And also, for our audience, let's move on to the pink box. Entirely written by AI and or completely lifted from job description. Now, the thing about, because we read, Min and I and our team read so many AI-generated resumes, so we have become very experienced in telling whether a resume is AI generated or not. There is actually nothing wrong in having an AI generated resume, but what you're risking and what I see in AI generated resumes is that the AIs almost always use more words than are necessary to express a certain experience. And AIs tend to do buzzword stuffing. And also, I know that some of you might have used things like using white fonts to put in your resumes to game the ATS. The fact is that I don't think that actually works very well in today's context, because ultimately, even if you can get your foot in the door to an interview, if you didn't meet the requirements of the job, you would still be stuck there. So that's something I hope everyone can take away with you. And the thing about the pink box, right? When a resume is entirely written by AI, what you risk is two things. The first thing is that you risk hallucination and fabrication by the AI. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing you risk is that the AI generated resume then sounds very artificial and inauthentic. And then when you show up in person for the interview, you don't sound exactly like the AI. And then there's this mismatch between your real person and what you presented on paper. And that doesn't really do you good. So, and also, moving on to the green box, the last green box at the bottom reads exactly like other resumes, feeding the same job description into the same AI. So what happens is that, remember in our earlier slide, I mentioned that you should use AI to improve, but not write. So what happens is that if everyone gets lazy and then uses an AI and types in a prompt, here's the job description, come up with a resume for me based on this job description. If there are many job seekers doing the same thing and everyone is using the same AI, your resume is going to sound exactly like the next person. And it may look very good to you, but you wouldn't know whether you look good or look bad until you sit in the shoes of the recruiter or the hiring manager. So that's a thought that I would like everyone to take away with. And is everyone following? Just type it yes, and then we can move on. Thank you, Michael. Okay, so having showcased why or how we should not use AI in certain ways, let's take a look at how you can use it in a wiser manner. Okay, box number 1, generate ideas and not words. Okay, if you read enough AI-generated writing, you will realize that it's very, very tiring to read a lot of it. And that's why there's a term for it. It's called AI slop. So you don't want your resume to sound like that. And what do we mean by generating ideas and not words is in the area of resume writing, you can ask AI to design a template for you. You can use the AI to say, for example, help me create a portfolio based on these samples of my work. And then the AI can give you suggestions on, say, where to host it, how to Canva, for example, has got photo editing and all that. So you can use it to do design work, provided you know what you want, right? Or show me different ways to present my experience. So when you ask AI to show me different ways to present my experience, the prerequisite is that you are clear about your experience. And then when AI presents you different ways to present it, then you can decide, okay, I want this or that, and so on and so forth. So that's method number 1, generate ideas and not words. Number 2, which some of you have already done and are doing right now, assess the ATS compatibility instead of fabricating skills, achievements, or experience to fit a job description. So yes, you can ask AI to make your existing resume ATS compatible, but you need to make sure that it doesn't end up doing buzzword stuffing or end up adding white fonts to your resume. Okay, does everybody know what white font is? Okay, another question. How many of you have ever used white fonts in your resumes before? Yes or no?
Oh. Somebody has?
Okay, it's great if nobody has used it before.
Somebody has. Yeah.
Oh no, somebody has. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to leave you with one principle here, that a resume's purpose, like what Min has shared, is to get you to the interview stage. Now, if whatever you're doing is getting you to the interview stage, then our suggestion is then focus on the stage that you are stuck in. Yeah, so that's our encouragement to you. And lastly, the third box, improve clarity, grammar, format, or structure, which means you can ask AI, help me make this more concise. Format my existing resume as a functional or chronological. Structure, and you can ask AI for advice on do you think I should put my education first? However, I am going to put a caveat for everyone. AI can sound very convincing, and AI's response will always will always give you the safest and most generic answer. So at some point, you are the one who needs to decide and not putting a decision, should I do this or not? It's not going to help you in the long run. Okay. So I hope this helps everyone, and I'm ready to pass the time back to Min to talk about the next stage.
Okay, sure. Happy to. But before we move on, I think, Eileen, for further clarity, for a bit more clarity, in terms of using AI to improve a resume, practically, what does it mean? Would you suggest that somebody load a first version of his or her resume into a ChatGPT or a Microsoft Copilot and ask for specific improvements? For example, improve clarity. Suggest what can be further improved to achieve better clarity. Or in another case, should a candidate load both the resume and the JD that he of the job that he's applying to both into the AI and request or prompt the AI to suggest for further improvement so that he can communicate even better, a stronger fit or relevance to the job. Practically, is this how you would use it? Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Min, for this question. I hope that everyone can learn to experiment. So there are two ways in which you can use. The first way is to put in a resume without any reference job description and just ask AI to improve it. Now, in practice, you will almost always it's just like you showing your resume to all your friends without any job description referencing. So all your friends are going to look at your resume and then say, oh, it looks good as it is. And that is exactly what will happen when you ask AI to do it without any reference. So then the second item that Min talked about was, do you put in a job description and a resume and ask AI to highlight? So my suggestion is to experiment using what, right? So for example, you can ask AI to say, help me highlight what is important in this job description, which parts of my experience speak to this particular bullet point. And you can also ask AI, now, does this, is there a better way to present this experience given that relevant bullet point in my experience was more than 10 years ago? So in that sense, you have the experience, but you can ask AI to improve your presentation of that experience. And my suggestion is to play with as many AIs as possible just to see where are all the overlaps and where a different AI can highlight a blind spot that another AI gives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to put it out, I personally find Careers Kaki very, very useful because Career Kaki clearly has an embedded AI in it. So if you're a Singaporean or PR, I believe you have access to Careers Kaki. I do encourage you to play with it. It is quite a powerful tool, if I may say. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Eileen, so let's move on. Back to me
Okay.
again. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to trouble you to put up the funnel for our audience again. Yeah.
Okay. Bear with me. Yes, the funnel is back there.
Okay, so we spoke about the job application process. We also spoke about resume and AI. And hey, congratulations! You're moving down the funnel. You have now reached the interview stage. Well done, well done. Okay, now when it comes to interview, of course, it is a necessity to practice and be well prepared ahead of your interview. Please don't go into the interview totally unprepared. Yeah, you'll be missing a golden opportunity. And of course, for those of you in our audience who have already signed up with us and you have a dedicated career advisor helping you, please be assured that our career advisors are ready to help you with a mock interview anytime you like. So feel free to ping your career advisor or career coach to say that I have an upcoming interview and I'd love to do a mock interview with you ahead. Okay. Now, I think in preparation of an interview, of course, what it usually involves is background research of the company and role. And this is, I think, one very, very obvious area where AI can be useful. I'm not sure how else we can really use AI for interview preparation, Eileen. So I'm sorry, but I don't have much to add here. I'm going to throw it back to you, but yeah, perhaps we're happy to engage with our audience and we can chip in together. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, let me move down to the interviews. And before we start on the interview, how using AI in interviews, right? Gareth, hi Gareth. Since Gareth has a question here, since we are on the top of the funnel, can the coaches share a good structured email title to attract the hiring manager to open one's email summary, or I mean of my summary profile? So again, this is where it is useful for everyone not to take a templated response from somebody, but to experiment with your desired AI of choice to come up with different email hooks. So I hope that answers your question. And the reason why we, I mean, as a career center, we don't offer a sample structured email title is because the last time we did this, we had 60 people, all VP level, using the same resume template. Yeah, and all of them said that they were highly driven and results driven and highly motivated individuals. So as far as possible, our suggestion is that if you really want to stand out from the crowd, work with your individual AI of choice. Verify and validate with different AIs instead of following templated approaches. Okay, so I hope this helps you, Gareth. And moving on to interviews, right? So Min shared one way of using AI for interviews, and that's to do research, right? So AI, if you look at the first box, the orange box that's on top, it can help you prepare for the interview by coming up with an employer cheat sheet. And so here is where, if you remember, I mentioned about Perplexity just now. Perplexity is one of my favorite AIs for doing research with verified links, verified sources. So if I'm doing research and I'm very sure that I do not want to the AI to create anything new when there's nothing or hallucinate, I will use Perplexity to create an employer cheat sheet. So for example, what areas of what areas of business has this company been investing in for the last 5 years? Where has it been expanding its business of the different business lines? Where has this employer been expanding these years? And of course, if you know how to do your research using LinkedIn, you can also use LinkedIn as a proxy for seeing whether a company's department, a certain department in a company has been increasing or decreasing over the last few years, simply by looking at all the people who have been working there in the last few years. And that is not an AI use case. That's just a LinkedIn use case. Yeah. And then the second question, the second box in green, you can use AI to create, help you brainstorm potential questions from different interviewer roles. Okay, what do we mean by different interviewer roles? We are talking about for hiring manager to whoever's above. It can be the VP in charge of this, or something like that. So you can put in different roles into your prompt and ask AI to generate potential questions from different interviewer roles. So that's another use for interviews. And then for blind spots, pitfalls, or unexpected questions, that is another area that you can use AI to help you to uncover. Okay. So these three areas are the orange, the green, and the blue boxes are areas, ways in which you can use AI in a wise manner. Now, the last question, the last box, the pink box, is where I feel that that's not a wise use of AI. Okay, what questions should I ask? Now, why do I say that I don't feel that that's wise is because if you're not, you see, AI is good as an assistant. It's not to replace your actual thinking. So if you are job seeker and you are applying to a certain role, if you don't even on your own have questions about the company, the role, the culture, or the business that the company is in, and all you do is to ask AI to generate the question, I think that during the interview itself, this lack of personal interest or curiosity in the job itself is going to come through very clearly. So the pink box is where I feel it is dangerous if you yourself don't have questions to ask and you ask AI to generate the questions for you. And then if you look at the words in red on the right side of the slide, which is brainstorm and not script. Now, this is what I've seen happen with a lot of my candidates. Too many of the people that I work with use AI to, number one, design the questions. And number two, after AI comes up with a series of questions, you ask AI to then create a model answer. So the pitfall for people that I've seen in this is that AI will generate a very artificial AI sounding response. And if you as a job seeker are not careful, you end up spending a lot of time rehearsing that response. And while this can work for you in a virtual interview because you have a script next to you, once you have to show up for an in-person interview, I think that is when a lot of our candidates then end up showing that they're not very authentic because all the previous responses was created using AI and came across very inauthentic. So I hope that everyone can take this and remember that AI is your assistant. It is not your voice.
Yeah, I'll add on there, Eileen.
Yes.
So I totally agree. And the other thing that I've observed is that when using AI, like Eileen said, we can use AI to help us generate some potential questions. And even as we want to use AI to help us, our response should be authentic rather than script. Now, the other tendency is that once we have gathered our response, with the help of AI, we've crafted our response. The other tendency that we've observed in candidates is that in order to make sure that they give the right response, they put the response entirely on on a Word document, and they simply read it off the Word document on the screen during an online or virtual interview, right? I like to tell you that you can be assured that the interviewer knows that you're reading off the script. So try not to do that. Try to internalize your response as much as possible, because when you internalize it, it will come across as authentic. Yeah. When you're reading off a script, when you're reading off a Word document, I can assure you the other party is well aware. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you, Min. That's very useful because we just had one question from Anonymous.
Yeah.
To answer a common question, tell me about yourself. I tried writing my own speech in a structured manner and used AI to spot any errors for further refinement. But when I used this write-up during my online interview, exactly what Min mentioned, I received feedback from the interviewer that I sounded like I was reading from a script. How can I improve on this? Now, I have one question that I hope everyone can answer in this chat. Do you have okay, how about this? Can everyone think of your favorite topic? It can be dramas, it can be a hobby. You love watching dramas, or you love cooking, or whatever. So question for audience. Number one, yes or no? Do you have something that you're really interested in? Be it a drama, a hobby, or a sport, or anything. Type yes if you do. Okay, great. And the next question I have, right, because I want everyone to take this away. This is really important for our audience. Think about your favorite topic, right? Whether it's a drama, a sport, or a hobby, or an interest, whatever it is. When you meet a stranger about it and you need to talk about this, do you prepare a script on that? and then read off a script to your new friend? Yes or no? And thank you, Michael. Yeah, of course, no. So for those of you who answered no, right? Um, Even though you don't have a script when you talk about your favorite hobby, is your friend or whoever was talking to you able to tell that you're very excited about that topic? Yes or no? Okay, thank you, Juliana. Yes. So why I ask you all to think about this, think about your favorite hobby, think about talking to someone new about it, and think about how excited you are and how the other party feels your excitement without you needing to write a script. This is the same thing that happens when you have a genuine interest in the role. And when you have a genuine interest in the role and the work that you're going to do. Okay, and I hope this and I want to help Anonymous who asked that question, right? So you're not the first one who has come up with an AI written or AI improved script and then gone through a virtual interview and sounded very rehearsed and scripted, and which is the reason why we are suggesting to everyone brainstorm, not script. Because as long as you work off a script, you are always going to end up coming across very scripted and very artificial. And so our suggestion is, of course, number one, if you don't already have a coach, please sign up to work with one of us. A coach or work with either a coach or a friend who can help you to identify what is it that really interests you about that job, the exact tasks, and why are you interested in that company in the first place. Of course, it cannot be things like, okay, I want to work for XXX bank because I've heard that you've got a sleeping pod and you've got a snooker table in the staff lounge, right? That is a big no-no. But beyond that, right, if you already made it to an interview, what is going to help you to get past that interview is really the whether or not you can display a genuine and authentic interest in that role and the company and the culture in general. And what you might call a vibe check, a chemistry check with the hiring manager. And so a very I and to help you to make your interview preparation very efficient, this is actually what I suggest to everyone. Number one, yes, you can come up with the first draft of tell me about yourself using AI or whatever, or using just your own draft. Now, after you have spent some time sort of memorizing it or whatever, the most efficient way to improve your authenticity is to throw away that draft and then just spend your time in front of a mirror or in front of your phone, video yourself actually answering that question. So in our experience, this is the fastest way to make sure that you catch yourself where you're sounding scripted, and I guarantee you, most of you who have been doing that are going to find yourselves using a lot of strange buzzwords that the AI proposed, and you feel a bit cringe seeing yourself say that kind of those words, right? So this is where when you practice in enough times in front of a mirror, after many rounds of practicing, right, the true you, your personal brand, what is Eileen all about, what is Min all about, that true you will actually emerge from your practice in front of the mirror. So in the absence of working with a coach, so of course our first suggestion is please come and work with one of us. Number two, if you really don't want to work with a coach, right, use the mirror as the fastest and most efficient way to practice your interviewing and your speech so that you come across very authentic. Yeah. And if you are not even interested in the job itself and you just want a job because you're so bored, I guarantee you the interviewer is going to feel that vibe right away. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to add on to Eileen, I think why it is useful to work with a career coach here is that we will practice with you the various techniques. Some of the useful techniques that I have observed with interview questions is, for example, the power of three. Yeah. I don't think we have time really to talk about the power of three here, but I find it very, very useful as a technique to help the interviewer focus on what you want to convey. Help the interviewer understand the top three things that you want to convey. That's what the power of three is all about. Another very useful technique in interview questions is what we term as the STAR technique, STAR. This is extremely useful, especially when facing situational type questions. Again, we don't have time to deep dive into it here. But for those who are with us, we'd love to, I guess, have a few practice rounds with you. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Min. That
Yeah.
was very useful. I hope everyone took, I've typed it in the chat box. Remember the power of three and the STAR method. And next up, we are ready to move on. We've covered the entire funnel, and then we are ready to move on to a sample prompt. To help you make your prompts more efficient, there is this thing called a prompt framework. I'm going to type it in the chat. Prompt framework. So there are many, many different types of prompt frameworks. So I have given everyone just a very simple prompt framework here. It's just very basic. Feel free to improve on it. What do we mean by this, right? Role, task, and format. So the role is you have to tell your AI what role you want it to take on. So for example, if you are working on your resume, you want to tell the AI, I assume the role of a seasoned recruiter interviewing for a technical role in, say, the FANG companies. Okay, so you have defined a role. Okay, and you need to give the AI a task, right? I want you to, for example, highlight gaps in my resume compared to this role. So you're given it a task. And then for format, you are telling the AI in what format. So the format can be, I want you to put all the gaps for me in bullet points, and also propose to me what other things in my resume can make up for this gap, for example. So this is one sample prompt. All right. I hope everyone understood. Is everyone still with us? Please type yes if you are. Okay, thank you for that. We have more or less come to the end of our session, and before we still have some time, so we are happy to answer any questions that you type into the Q&A box. And what I'm going to do now while we are waiting for questions from you is to launch our poll, and I invite everyone to respond to this poll so that you can help us to improve future webinars. Okay, let me pull the launch. Okay, and then to encourage everyone, we also want to encourage you that number one, sometimes if you don't get past the resume stage, or if you've been interviewing with the same company for multiple rounds and then suddenly the company ghosts you, sometimes you may not, the reason may not always be you. Sometimes it is you, but it doesn't apply every single time. So the best strategy that we can encourage you to take is that after every application you send out, just move on. Stop obsessing over, how many days has it been since you sent out that resume. And after every interview you've gone for, just move on again. Go and enjoy yourself. Get on with the rest of your lives. Stop obsessing over every application and stop asking yourself, okay, why is the interviewer not calling me back? It's been 3 weeks. It really doesn't help you. And what's most productive for you, in our experience, is forget about it and just move on to your next job application. Okay? The part on task. Okay, for anonymous, you missed out the part on task, right? Okay, so the role, I'll repeat this. The role is what role you want the AI to play, whether you want it to be the recruiter, the hiring manager, or the HR screener, or you want it to be an ATS. Okay, that's the role. The task is what are you expecting this role to do? So if you want it to be a recruiter, one option may be, I want you as a recruiter to critique my resume. Okay, in whatever it is that you want it to do. Or I want you as a recruiter to help me see why you would accept or reject my resume for this application. So, Anonymous, I hope that helps. And for those of you who have not responded, kindly respond. Very welcome. Very welcome, Juliana. Okay, we are going to close down the webinar in 2 minutes. So if there are no further questions, we're just going to hang around for another 2 more minutes. Thank you for the responses. Feel free to ask any more questions.
Feel free to also sign up with us.
Yes. Oh, thank you for sharing with that, Denise. Yes, candidates interview process took more than a month. In today's context, that's very normal. And sometimes, not every time, interviews are taking place during March, April, this period, right? Sometimes roles can get suddenly eliminated because budget was not approved when the financial year closes. So, which is the reason why I'm encouraging everyone. Sometimes interviews go to a certain stage and then you get ghosted. It's not always that it is your problem. Yeah. Thank you for sharing with us, Denise. All right, thank you everyone. We have come to the end of our webinar. Thank you for spending your time with us. And those of you who have written to me via LinkedIn, let me just send you the link to the post that was talking about the Telegram bot. And if you are not already with a career coach, please sign up with us. If you are and you want to talk more about using AI, feel free to work with your current coach. So thank you so much, everyone. And we wish you all the best.